Welcome back, everybody. Today we have a special video on Bionicle theory. We're going to call this Huna theory, part 1. So what do we have here? We have a somewhat rare mask called the Copper Huna. So, in the first set of mask packs in 2001, there's 2 sets of 6 masks, right? There's the 6 Toa masks and the 6 Chiraga masks. And those come in 6 colors each, all of them. And so there are 36 times 2 masks. And then there are a very small number of masks that don't fit into that framework that were released in 2001. And the Copper Huna is one of them. And here I have this comic, the third Bionicle comic on the left. And so if you remember, this comic was the end of the first run. This, right, part 3 of 3, it says right here, it was part of the trilogy where they introduced the Toa Mata. And in this trilogy, they're fighting the Vahi. And that's how this is concluded, right? Is they all get together into this like mega Toa and defeat the Vahi and free Matanui to make it safe for the Matoran. And that's this comic, and it ends, right? End. And then it has this teaser, because this is a mix of things. There are this gold mask, which is new. You haven't seen this before. There's this infected mask, which is not new. This comes in on the Jaguar set, right? Or the Tiger. And but then there are these masks. And look what it says for this one. The wearer of this mask is able to slow the passage of time in order to move faster than his opponents. Look for this awesome Kanohi in the Bionicle PC game this December. So this is a mask that hasn't been released yet, but is in mask packs. And then this mask, the Copper Huna, or in here as they call it, the Copper Mask of Victory. This ceremonial mask is awarded to the champion in village games. As such, it is highly prized by all the islanders of Matanui. In an effort to crush the morale of those who resist his power, Makuta has ordered his Vahi to gather the copper masks and conceal them. No one is quite sure where they can be found. So this tells me that this was a mask they didn't know what to do with, right? For so many reasons. First of all, look at the color. It's this copper is what they're calling it. It really has a kind of purplish hue to me. I've always thought, and this will be the punchline, is that this is Bionicle experimenting with the color gold. Lego Group is experimenting with the color gold here. We have this copper mask. We have this Mask of Time, or the Vahi, which is orange. And then we finally have this mask in what is now known as Bionicle gold, right? As an injection mold gold. You can see it has these streaks on it because of how it's mixed in the mold. And then here, I'll just put this here for completion's sake, but we don't really care. These are the 4. These are like the 4 of, there's a few others, right? There's the Trans Neon Miru. There are other masks that are released in this phase of Bionicle that don't conform to the 36, but these are the big ones that don't. And my thesis here is that this mask has a history in the development of Bionicle that is more than meets the eye, and that it being this Copper Mask of Victory is the last sort of vestige we have of that. But if you look closely, you can learn more. And here specifically, I'm going to move these to the side. What I'm interested in is the Vahi. So I've always thought, kind of interesting. I think we've always all thought, where's the top of this mask, right? Where's the top of the Vahi? Eventually they made one, right? Another thing I've always thought is, this is a cool beard, right? But this is a weird mask. Like it doesn't have a lot of mass down here. And the other thing I've noticed is that the lines on these masks are in a similar place. And obviously you can line up the studs with the eyes, but that's just because the Bionicle head has a sort of default proportions. But no, what I'm getting at here is that I think that this mask was originally invented, the copper Huna, or the Huna rather, as the top half of this Vahi mask, is that this was supposed to be part of like a collectible put together. And my core piece of evidence for that, apart from this color theory that I've sort of worked up, is if you look at the front, the shape, they have four. This has 4 holes and this has 4 slits. Or, well, 5 slits and 4 cages, but they're the only masks from this wave, and I think really from any wave, that have this motif in the same part of the mask. And then what's even I always thought was more interesting is this mask, has this dent in the front here, like right where you would attach the other mask. Like they almost went and did that. And so, yeah, that's my theory about the Huna, is that it's actually, is some creative descendant of the upper half of the Vahi, or that in some way these two masks were created together. And yeah, we'll just get to it. My core piece of evidence is the color. Look, they made this mask in one color, at least at this time, and what color? They made it in orange. So they even fit together. And then what color do they later make this in? Gold, in gold. And what did I say that we're doing here? The Lego group is experimenting with the color gold in their toys. And the other reason I say that, this gets back to my previous video, is what do we say about this mask, right? This is one of very few masks that Bionicle made in yellow. And again, red is the primary color of the fire element in Bionicle. And so yellow, this is a whole third of the color wheel that we gave to 1/6 of the element wheel, because this is supposed to be gold too. And this is what Lego was up to. And so I think, you can tell that they were testing different, color essentially, and that they ultimately do land on gold, right? Because what is advertised here is this gold mask. And this copper Huna is part of this sort of trial phase of building these gold masks, because the sort of chrome injection thing is the same. You can sort of see these various lines on here. I think it's most noticeable usually right on this under part of the chin. This one you can see that line there. That's because this, I don't know the specifics of how this is actually works, but they're essentially injecting like a gold dye into a clear or opaque white plastic, is my memory of how this color is created by Lego at the time. So yeah, that's my theory here with the Mask of Time and the Huna, is that they at one point were supposed to be 2 halves of one mask. And I think the evidence for that is all over the color palette of these masks in their first version, as well as some of the stylistic aspects that remain. And so, yeah, I know I'd love to get like a linker to be able to attach this here. It almost works. So yeah, put this all to the side. And I'm sure there will be more videos on the color, because I have a lot more to say about this. So thanks for listening.